Okay, my next piece is rather sobering. It's from notorious serial killer Ted Bundy, who killed at least 30 women before being found out, taken down, and thrown in jail. He was killed by way of electric chair in 1989, and the night before he was executed, he gave an interview, and he spoke exclusively about pornography in this interview. You can watch clips of this on YouTube, but the whole interview is not available as far as I can tell. But lucky for you, I found the full transcript, and it's eye-opening. This is Ted Bundy's final interview the night before he was executed by way of electric chair. I think I understand what happened to me. As a young boy, and I mean boy of 12 or 13, I encountered in the local grocery store and the local drugstores the softcore pornography. As young boys, we explore the back doors and the sideways and byways of our neighborhoods, and from time to time we come across pornographic books of a more explicit nature. And this is something that I want to emphasize. The most dangerous kinds of pornography are those that involve violence and sexual violence, because the wedding of those two forces, as I know only too well, brings about behavior that is just too terrible to describe. It is important to me that people believe what I'm saying. I'm not blaming pornography. I'm not saying it caused me to go out and do certain things. I take full responsibility for all the things that I've done. That's not the question here. The question and the issue is how this kind of literature contributed and helped mold and shape the kinds of violent behavior. In the beginning, it fuels this kind of thought process. Then at a certain time, it is instrumental in crystallizing it, making it into something which is almost a separate entity inside. And that points you at the verge. I was at the verge of acting out this kind of fantasy. It happened in stages. My experience with pornography, that deals on a violent level with sexuality, is that once you become addicted to it, like other kinds of addiction, you keep looking for more potent, more explicit, more graphic kinds of material. Like an addiction, you keep craving something which is harder, something which gives you a greater sense of excitement, until you reach the point where the pornography only goes so far. You reach that jumping off point, where you begin to wonder if maybe actually doing it will give you that which is just beyond reading about it and looking at it. Another fact here I haven't mentioned is the use of alcohol. What I think is what alcohol did in conjunction with my exposure to pornography, alcohol reduced my inhibitions, at the same time as the fantasy life that was fueled with pornography eroded them further. Some people would say that I've seen that stuff and it doesn't do anything to me, and I can understand that. All I know is that it had an impact on me that was central in the development of the violent behavior that I engaged in. There is absolutely no way to describe, first, the brutal urge to do that kind of thing, and then, once it is more or less satisfied and receded, you might say, or spent, I basically became myself again. The basic humanity and basic spirit that God gave me was intact. Unfortunately, it became overwhelmed at times. Those of us who have been so much influenced by violence in the media, in particular pornographic violence, are not some kinds of inherent monsters. We are your sons, and we are your husbands. Pornography can reach in and snatch a kid out of any house today. It snatched me out of my home 20 to 30 years ago. I'm no social scientist, and I haven't done a survey. I don't pretend that I know what John Q. citizens know about this. But I've lived in prison for a long time now, and I've met a lot of men who are motivated to commit violence, just like me. And without exception, every one of them was deeply involved in pornography. Without question, without exception, deeply influenced and consumed by an addiction to pornography. There's no question about it. The FBI's own study on serial homicide shows that the most common interest among serial killers is pornography. It's real. It's true. There are loose in their towns, in their communities, people like me today whose dangerous impulses are being fueled day in and day out by violence in the media in its various forms, particularly the sexualized violence. Each time I'd harmed someone, each time I killed someone, there had been an enormous amount of horror, guilt, remorse afterwards. But then, that impulse to do it again would come back even stronger. I deserve the most extreme punishment society has, and I think society deserves to be protected from me and from others like me. I think society deserves to be protected from itself. Because there are forces at loose in this country, particularly this kind of violent pornography. There are lots of other kids playing in streets around this country today who are going to be dead tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next month, because other young people are seeing the kinds of things that are available in the media today. Stop watching pornography. I did. And it was hard. I'll admit. I used to watch porn as a single guy in his 20s who had no real spiritual center, who was a good person, was a good person, but I didn't care. And I would masturbate to porn. And it's like fast food. It's so easy to get. And this is in 1989 that he gave this interview. Porn has become a lot more abundant in the last 30 years. And anything that you can imagine, any perversion your twisted mind can come up with, you can watch. And you can find it at a moment's notice. If you're struggling with a porn addiction, I recommend looking up the girl whose scene you're about to watch, looking her up on YouTube where there's no pornography, and watch an interview with her. Watch her talk just as a person, just as a girl. You will lose your arousal. I guarantee it, because you'll start seeing the humanity. You'll see this girl as a lost, young soul trying to figure out how to make money, and it's so sad. It's really sad. It's a dark business, and they want us watching it. They want us to give over our seed, our manhood, to the computer screen and this vile pornography that teaches us not about love and not how to make love, but how to have real, disconnected, unpassionate, fake sex.